So basically, for us to have a good argument in regards to English nationalist or um, whatever the party is, where they're screaming take back Britain and take back this, just never forget that for us to get to what England is right now, it's because England's involvement with colonialism. And even with the situation with Afghanistan war and when the Taliban finally took over, some of the people were able to escape those places. So England, that was involved in the actual war to find certain weapons, had to let some people in. So it's always been an involvement of England in different countries that led to the multiculturalism that we have. My own thing is, why don't you put that in the arguments that you have? You always manage to skip that conversation. You always manage to skip the fact that you took a bunch of Africans to the Caribbean and created new colonies over there, and you know, weaponized and used them as cheap labor, slavery for the sugar and coffee and all of the rest of it. And then 100 or so years later, you brought them back to England. They were called the Windrush generation to help build England up after World War II. And then, and then obviously you start to try to deport some of them, which was even sort of like mind blowing. So we cannot eliminate the fact of England's involvement with other countries is what created that. Everyone always says it's like, let's take back our country, but now I never hear anybody say, "Oh, we were involved in slavery." We people from Ghana, Nigeria, all the Uganda, you were involved in the gold in South Africa and all of that stuff. And rumor has it, conspiracy theorists will have you say that you're still involved in a thing called neo-colonialism, which led to another new generation of people coming into those countries. A lot of conspiracy theories will say those countries are still being controlled by England and some other European countries, which led to those countries not being able to stand by themselves because some of their good presidents apparently end up dying, or their plane gets blown up, or or they get ousted by soldiers that were trained by certain people in Europe, and everything falls apart. So all of this is happening. You have to put that in the conversation. A lot of Africans of this certain generation would not be here without England's involvement in Africa. A lot of Caribbean would not be there in England without the involvement of actually them taking them all the way from Africa all the way to Caribbean and then bringing them back to help build back England. You understand what I'm saying to you? So let's put that in the argument. This is the only problem I have when people have that conversation, because it leaves a lot of gaps of misunderstanding that can cause misunderstanding. If we start from a root cause of a place of understanding, maybe we might be able to understand each other a lot. I know a lot of British English people came out when the war in Iraq and Afghanistan happened. They did not want it, but the government decided to go through it. Now, when the Taliban took over, a lot of immigrants from that part have been allowed to come into England because of England's involvement in that war. It's always been like that. So let's have an argument, let's have a conversation starting from the root cause first, so we don't create racism and all of this crazy stuff. It's England's involvement which has created this multicultural society. Colonialism, neo-colonialism, trying to still continue to be number one. That's what created this. So, and the other guy that is always in TV, we want to take back England. I'm like, start with colonies. Start with what England done. We don't even have to go to the tragic horror story of what they did. But let's just start a conversation by the involvement of using black people as slaves, and involvement of you in India, involvement of you in China, and all of these other countries. Like, let's have a conversation is what created this multicultural society. Without even going into the horror stories of what you've done. Let's just have that. Let that be part of the argument when you're trying to say, take back our country. You understand what I'm saying to you? Just have that there, And don't forget, there's still arguments that you're still in Africa. You never left. You know what I'm saying? You control the resources, Like, That's why those countries have not been able to stand by themselves. The leaders that were supposed to build them apparently all died in mysterious circumstances or got removed by European trained black military soldiers. So like, let's put that in the argument. That's all I'm saying. Let's just put that in the argument. All right? Peace and love. I wish everybody well. Everyone has a right. I'm British born. I know I am not indigenous to the land. I'm indigenous to Africa, definitely. But let's just have, before we start creating another sort of race war, let's have an understanding of the root cause. Let people be educated on how England got here. You know what I mean? If there's fight after that, then fine. Great. All right? Peace and love.